What if Honda decided to bring back one of its rawest, most iconic dirt bikes? Not as a museum piece, but as a modern machine that could shake up the lightweight off-road world again. And here's the wild part. There's a hidden possibility about this bike that could make it more than just a comeback. Stick around for that. Welcome back to Acer Rider, and today we're diving into what could be one of the most exciting revivals ever, the 2026 Honda MT250 Elsinore. Now, to really understand why this bike matters, you've got to go back in time for a second. The original MT250 Elsinore wasn't just another motorcycle, it was part of a revolution. Back in the early 1970s, Honda changed motocross forever with the Elsinore lineup. These bikes were lightweight, simple, and accessible, making off-road riding something regular people could actually get into. The MT250 specifically was the street-legal version of that motocross DNA. It came with a 248 cubic centimeter two-stroke engine, a 5-speed gearbox, and just enough equipment to make it usable on the road. It wasn't perfect, but that wasn't the point. It was raw, fun, and incredibly lightweight, something that modern bikes sometimes forget how to be. And that's exactly why bringing it back in 2026 makes so much sense. Now imagine Honda taking that same philosophy, lightweight, simple, fun, and rebuilding it for today's riders. The 2026 version of the 2026 Honda MT250 Elsinore wouldn't just copy the past, it would reinterpret it. Visually, expect a serious mix of retro motocross and modern minimalism. We're talking about a slim, aggressive profile with a high front fender, long flat seat, and that signature Elsinore stance. But instead of old-school chrome and bulky parts, everything would be tighter, cleaner, and sharper. The tank would likely carry classic Honda racing colors, maybe even a throwback to that iconic Elsinore orange, but finished with modern materials and detailing. Lighting would be fully LED, but styled to keep that vintage round headlight look. The body panels would stay minimal, not just for style, but for weight savings. And that's the key theme here. Everything about this bike would be built around keeping it light. Because let's be honest, weight is what made the original Elsinore so special. The CR250M motocross version weighed just around 214 pounds, which was insanely light for its time. If Honda manages to keep the new version lightweight, even by modern standards, it could instantly stand out in a market full of heavier, more complicated machines. Now let's talk about the engine, because this is where things get interesting. The original MT250 used a two-stroke engine, but realistically that's not coming back in most markets due to emissions, so the 2026 version will almost certainly go with a four-stroke setup. The most logical choice? A 250 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled single-cylinder engine, possibly derived from Honda's current off-road lineup. Modern 250 cubic centimeter engines like the CRF series already produce strong, usable power with excellent throttle response. That means Honda doesn't need to reinvent the wheel. They just need to tune it for versatility instead of pure racing. Expect smooth power delivery, good low-end torque, and a responsive throttle that makes the bike feel alive without being intimidating. This won't be a high-strung race bike. It'll be something you can ride every day without getting tired of it. The gearbox will likely stay a 5-speed or possibly a 6-speed unit, giving you enough flexibility for both trail riding and road use. And unlike the old two-stroke, which needed more attention and tuning, this modern engine will be far more reliable and easier to live with. Now, performance is where this bike could really shine. If Honda gets the weight right and pairs it with a well-balanced chassis, the MT250 Elsinore could become one of the most fun bikes to ride, period. Think about it. Lightweight frame, upright riding position, wide handlebars. It's a combination that just works. You get full control, great visibility, and a riding experience that feels natural instead of forced. The suspension setup will likely borrow from Honda's off-road expertise. That means long travel front forks and a rear monoshock designed to handle rough terrain without feeling too soft on the road. Modern suspension has come a long way, and Honda's recent CRF lineup shows just how refined it can be. So whether you're hitting dirt trails, broken roads, or just cruising through the city, the bike should feel stable and comfortable. Braking will obviously be a huge upgrade compared to the original. Back in the 70s, the MT250 used drum brakes, which were decent for the time, but nowhere near today's standards. The 2026 version will almost certainly feature disc brakes on both ends, along with ABS for added safety. That alone transforms how confident the bike feels, especially in unpredictable conditions. Now let's talk about features, but don't expect anything too crazy here. And honestly, that's a good thing. The MT250 Elsinore is all about simplicity. So instead of loading it with unnecessary electronics, Honda will likely keep things clean. A small digital display, LED lighting, and maybe an assist and slipper clutch. That's about all you really need. No complicated ride modes, no over-the-top tech, just a bike that works the way it's supposed to. And that brings us to one of the most important parts. Who is this bike actually for? The answer is almost everyone. If you're a beginner, this could be an amazing first bike. It's lightweight, manageable, and forgiving. It doesn't overwhelm you with power, and it gives you the confidence to learn and improve. If you're an experienced rider, this could be the perfect second bike. Something simple, something fun, something you can just jump on and ride without thinking too much. And if you're someone who just wants a bike that can do a bit of everything, commuting, weekend rides, light off-roading, this fits perfectly. Now, let's talk about pricing, because that's going to be critical. If Honda positions this bike smartly, it could land somewhere in the mid-range 250 cubic centimeter category. That would make it affordable enough for new riders while still offering enough value for experienced ones. And honestly, if they keep it simple and lightweight, they won't need to price it too high. Now, here's the twist I mentioned at the beginning, and this is where things get really interesting. There's a growing possibility that Honda could use the MT250 Elsinore name as a starting point for a new generation of lightweight off-road and dual-purpose bikes, not just one model, but a whole lineup inspired by that original Elsinore spirit. And if that happens, this bike becomes more than just a comeback. It becomes a statement that riding doesn't have to be complicated, that bikes don't need to be heavy or overloaded with technology to be fun, that sometimes the best experience comes from something simple, lightweight, and connected. And honestly, that's something a lot of riders are starting to miss. So the real question is, would you ride a modern Elsinore? Would you choose something raw and lightweight over something bigger and more powerful? Because if Honda gets this right, the 2026 Honda MT250 Elsinore might not just return. It might redefine what a fun motorcycle feels like in 2026. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure you hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Acer Rider for more content like this. We've got a lot more coming, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's next. This concept of the 2026 Honda MT250 Elsinore is based on AI-generated predictions, industry trends, and speculative design ideas. It is not an official announcement or confirmed model from Honda, and actual specifications or features may vary.